You know that feeling when you finish eating, but you're just, well, not quite satisfied.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It happens to everyone, I think.
And you wonder, why do some people feel full on, like way less food than others?
Exactly. That lack of satisfaction. Um, it really gets to the heart of how our bodies manage fullness.
Satiety.
Satiety. So the big question we're digging into today is what's actually going on biologically? What tells us, okay, stop eating now?
Right. And there are two key players here. Hormones.
Hormones, okay. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, first you've got ghrelin. That's often called the hunger hormone. You might have touched on it maybe when talking about fasting.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
And the other one?
It's leptin. Leptin is the opposite. It's the signal for I'm full, satiety.
Yeah.
That nice feeling after a decent meal.
Okay, ghrelin for go, leptin for stop. Simple enough.
Well, that's where it gets interesting. This thing called leptin resistance can happen.
Leptin resistance, what does that mean?
Basically, it means your brain isn't hearing the leptin signal properly. You need more and more leptin just to feel the same level of fullness.
Ah, so your body's shouting, I'm full, but the message isn't getting through clearly.
Exactly. And it's not just about maybe eating a bit more. It can have real physiological downsides, like increased blood pressure, for instance.
Okay, so this isn't just a minor inconvenience. Understanding this, maybe even fixing it, is pretty important.
It really is. It's key for, preventing disease and just getting back to that natural point where a normal amount of food actually satisfies you.
Right, so for this deep dive, that's our mission. We want to understand the big factors influencing satiety based on our source material.
And we're zeroing in on two main areas today.
Which are?
Insulin and blood sugar levels, how they swing around, and then the role of protein, specifically the amino acids within protein.
Got it. Blood sugar and protein. Okay, where should we start? Maybe with the blood sugar part.
Sounds good. So a big piece of the leptin resistance puzzle seems to be linked to how our blood sugar levels behave.
How so?
Well, when you eat foods that make your blood sugar spike really high and then crash down quickly, that whole roller coaster effect, it can actually interfere with leptin doing its job.
It messes up the signals somehow.
Yeah, it makes it harder for the brain to register that fullness cue from leptin.
Okay, and this is where the glycemic index, the GI, comes in handy, right?
Exactly. The GI is basically just a way to rank foods based on how fast they raise your blood glucose after you eat them, like a speed rating for sugar release.
So high GI foods mean a faster sugar rush.
Generally, yes. And those high GI foods often seem to contribute to leptin resistance. They don't tend to keep you feeling full for very long either.
You get that quick energy burst maybe, but then...
Then the crash comes and you find yourself feeling hungry again pretty soon.
It's funny, though, because some foods that seem healthy can have a high GI. I remember reading about watermelon.
That's a classic example. Watermelon has a GI around 70, pretty high.
Which you wouldn't necessarily expect. And compare that to something like dark chocolate, like really dark 70% cacao.
Right. That's got a much lower GI, down around 25 maybe. It kind of flips your expectations, doesn't it?
It really does. So the takeaway is that keeping blood sugar more stable is better for leptin.
That's a huge part of it, yeah. More stable blood sugar isn't just good for, sustained energy and general health. It seems crucial for helping resolve leptin resistance.
So your body can actually hear the leptin signal when it arrives.
Precisely. And then you start feeling satisfied with, normal portions again.
Okay, stable blood sugar. Got it. Now, what about this other idea you mentioned, the protein leverage hypothesis? Sounds important.
It is, yeah. It's a fascinating concept. The core idea is that how full we feel is strongly, maybe even primarily, driven by getting enough protein each day.
Enough protein? Or is it something more specific?
Well, more specifically, it's about getting the essential amino acids from that protein. Think of them as the fundamental building blocks the body absolutely needs.
Okay, so the hypothesis suggests our body has like a daily quota for these amino acids.
Kind of, yeah. And the idea is, once you hit that quota, your body goes, okay, we've got the essential materials we need, and that's when it triggers the strong satiety signals. Stop eating time.
I see. So if you're eating a diet that's, say, really heavy on carbs.
Especially refined carbs, yeah. You might be getting plenty of energy, plenty of calories, but maybe you're falling short on those crucial amino acids.
And the body keeps the hunger signals on because it hasn't hit that amino acid target yet.
That's the theory. It keeps pushing you to eat more, trying to get those essential building blocks it needs.
That actually makes a lot of sense intuitively. I mean, protein builds everything, right? Muscles, tissue.
Exactly. Amino acids are what make proteins, and proteins build us. So it's logical the body would prioritize getting enough of them. and maybe tie satiety signals closely to that.
It's a different way of thinking about hunger than just calories in, calories out.
Absolutely. And our source material suggests a little exercise you could try.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Just, roughly track what you eat for a day or two and try to estimate the percentage that's carbs, protein, and fat.
And see what the balance looks like?
Yeah. The sources suggest many people are actually quite surprised by how much of their diet is dominated by carbohydrates when they actually look at it.
I can believe that. Carbs are everywhere. So if we're talking about hitting a protein quota, what's a ballpark figure, like a minimum target?
A common guideline you hear is about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. That's often cited as a sort of baseline minimum.
So for someone who's, say, 75 kilos, that's 60 grams of protein a day.
Roughly, yeah. But, and this is really important, it's not just about the total grams of protein.
Ah, there's a catch.
It's also about getting sufficient amounts of the essential amino acids. Those are the ones your body can't make itself. You absolutely have to get them from food.
Okay, so quality matters, not just quantity. Are there specific amino acids that are particularly key? The sources mention one, leucine.
Yes, leucine comes up a lot. It's a branched-chain amino acid, BCAA. And it seems to play a really big role in triggering muscle protein synthesis, building and repairing muscle.
Muscle building, okay. And how does that relate to feeling full?
Well, there's this idea of a leucine threshold. It suggests you need a certain amount of leucine in a meal, or maybe over the day, say, around 2.5 grams, for many adults to really switch on that muscle-building machinery effectively.
And if you don't hit that threshold?
Even if your total protein for the day looks okay on paper, if you're not getting enough leucine consistently, your body might not be getting the optimal signal for muscle upkeep. And that could indirectly affect satiety signals, too. It's complex.
So hitting the total protein number is good, but ensuring you get enough key players like leucine is also part of the picture for maybe optimal signaling.
That seems to be the idea, yeah. Making sure the quality and specific amino acid profile of your protein intake is good.
Okay. Protein is clearly a major piece of this, but it's not the only thing, right? The sources emphasized balance too.
Absolutely not the only thing. Protein is crucial, yes.
Yeah.
And it definitely impacts satiety and potentially leptin sensitivity. But it works as part of a team.
The whole macronutrient team. Carbs, fats, proteins.
Exactly. You need a good balance. They all interact. It's not just about loading up on protein shakes and calling it a day.
Right. So for most people aiming for better satiety, what does achieving that better balance usually involve? Like practically speaking.
In most cases, it seems to mean boosting your intake of fiber,
Okay, fiber.
increasing healthy fats, and yes, making sure your protein intake is adequate. And often this goes hand in hand with reducing added sugars and maybe some of the highly refined carbs.
And it's worth highlighting that difference within carbs again, isn't it? Sugar versus fiber. They're both carbs, but worlds apart in effect.
Totally different. Fiber is critical. Historically, if you look at human diets way back, they were much, much higher in fiber than typical modern diets.
And much lower in readily available sugar, I imagine.
Precisely. Our biology is kind of set up for that older pattern. So getting a good mix of fiber, healthy fats, and protein that really supports feeling appropriately full and managing intake naturally.
Okay, so that's the why and the what. Let's talk practical steps. What can people actually do to improve things?
Well, one direct approach, if getting enough fiber from food alone is tricky for you, maybe due to preference or availability or even digestive issues,
Yeah.
you could consider supplementing with fiber.
Like a fiber powder or supplement.
Exactly.
Okay.
Adding supplemental fiber can actually help buffer some of the negative impacts of, say, a higher GI meal. It promotes fullness, it feeds your good gut bacteria, helps digestion. It's got multiple benefits.
That seems like a relatively simple tweak someone could try. Any other strategies mentioned? What about intermittent fasting? Does that play a role here?
It can, potentially. Intermittent fasting might help some people regulate ghrelin. Better remember,
Yeah.
the hunger hormone.
Right, the go signal.
Yeah. By having defined eating windows, some find their hunger signals become maybe more predictable or less intense outside of those windows. It's a strategy that works well for some.
Okay. So if we were to summarize the main action points for better satiety, better leptin sensitivity, what are the big three?
I'd say it boils down to, 1, prioritize getting enough quality protein, paying attention to essential amino acids like leucine.
Got it. Protein first.
2, make sure you're including sufficient healthy fats. Don't be afraid of healthy fats.
Right. Fats are important for satiety too.
And 3, Definitely increase your fiber intake, whether through whole foods primarily or potentially supplementing if needed.
Protein, healthy fats, fiber. Sounds like a solid foundation.
Hmm.
And the good news is these feel like achievable adjustments for most people, not necessarily a complete diet overhaul overnight.
Exactly. It's about making more informed choices, understanding how food interacts with your body's signals, rather than just fighting against hunger all the time.
So the big takeaway here really is that feeling satisfied, feeling full after you eat, it's not just random. It's a complex biological dance.
It really is. Hormones like leptin and ghrelin, your blood sugar stability, and the mix of macronutrients you eat, especially protein and fiber, they're all playing critical roles.
And understanding that gives you power, doesn't it? Power to make choices that help you work with your body.
That's the goal, to move away from feeling constantly deprived or battling cravings and towards a place where you feel naturally satisfied with appropriate amounts of nourishing food.
Makes sense. So to leave everyone with something to chew on, metaphorically speaking,
Go for it.
thinking about everything we've discussed, blood sugar swings, hitting that protein target, getting enough fiber, which of those factors do you suspect might be the biggest lever for your own personal satiety, your own hunger
Ooh,
patterns?
that's a good one.
Might be worth pondering as you go about your day. A little personal investigation.